You're in the hot seat now. Good to see you.
Good to see you again.
So David Lammy, we just heard, said Labour is ready to go with a free trade agreement. Is India ready to go?
Of course. It's been in the new government's 100 days priority. It's something that we have...
Oh, it is?
Oh, yes.
Right, in
absolutely.
the 100 days priority. Okay.
In fact, if I'm not
That's
wrong...
good to know, isn't it?
It's one of 2 FTAs that's in the 100-day priority.
Okay.
Which means we are confident that broadly there is a good package on the table and that we'd love to be able to conclude this with whomever the British people choose to have govern.
Can you give us a sneak peek into the...
No, well...
I know it's still being negotiated, but something? A tidbit on the table?
Look, let me put it this way. I'd say what has been worked upon with a lot of effort by the negotiators on both sides, 2 of whom are actually here, we have, from our side, put on the table what we believe is, for us, an unprecedented offer. It is, to the best of my knowledge, the best offer that we have made any country. The point here isn't so much about the dollars and cents value or pounds and pence value of it, but the strategic value of a relationship that we believe is of considerable importance to India. And so
in what sense do you think it would be the best? You said
the best in the sense, look, India has had some free trade agreements, but they've been limited in ambition. What we are trying to do with this free trade agreement is to increase the depth of, or the extent of ambition, including in goods and services, that we'd like to offer to the UK. Now, obviously, I don't for a moment say this in any sense to say that this is the best thing that could ever have been done. But relative to what we have done in the past, this is certainly, by some measure, quite a bit ahead of what we've offered anybody else. Naturally, the UK government and whoever governs the UK after the 4th of July has to choose whether that's adequate or what more they'd like to see. And that's why probably it should take a little while more to try and finalize what is feasible for both sides to conclude an FTA on. But I believe, per se, this is a good place to be in at this point of time.
Okay, so I was pressing David Lammy a bit on this issue of mobility, visas for students, visas for business travelers. What's at stake here for India? Why is it so important, do you think? Give us the Indian perspective.
Okay, look, let me first say what I've said repeatedly here in the media, including on television and radio and print. Either my English isn't of an adequate standard to make the point, or clearly it's not resonating. Visas are not the first priority for us in an FTA. We are not seeking to be essentially looking at the FTA as a means to bring people to the UK. That is not the objective. What we're looking for, and my colleagues will bear me out, is whatever is reasonable within the broad framework of international trade and services under Mode 4 of GATS to be able to have natural persons travel for intercompany transfers, etc. The UK has a number of companies in India, and we have a very large number of companies here. In fact, over 970 companies in the UK, just as subsidiaries, not even counting joint ventures. There is every reason for companies to want to be able to facilitate easier movement of people. And that's about all we're asking for broadly in the space around visas. Naturally, about students, this is a matter that your situation, your politics, your electorate has to decide whether it's worthwhile to give students who come and study here an opportunity to stay and work. This is the consequence of whatever decision you make will be evaluated by people. I mean, people will vote with their wallets accordingly.
Yeah.
That is really for you. We're not asking necessarily that you must make this a critical part of an FTA. We understand, however, that there is interest among Indian students who come to pay significant sums of money here for educational opportunities. And in doing so, as is the case in Canada or Australia or the US, they get to work for a bit. They will evaluate it accordingly, the opportunities that they get. And the rest of it is really up to the host country.
Let's move on from that a little to talk a little.
I hope I've made the point.
Loud and clear, right?
Yeah.
I think it is just only one element of many. Really.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's not the primary purpose of a trade.
Of course, completely.
Which is, of course, to do more trade together.
Yes.
Yes. So Let's talk about other ways in which the UK-India relationship might be deepened. David Lammy mentioned quite a few. I was intrigued by what he was saying about a security relationship going further. How would you see that?
So I think, if I may, I think the Shadow Secretary of State absolutely made an interesting point when he talked about the FTA as not being the ceiling of our ambitions. Why is an FTA important? Obviously, it is important for us to do more business together, to have more trade happen. But the critical piece for me is an FTA creates the habit of much more intense cooperation, which is critical for government-to-government trust to build up. Now, ultimately, partnerships are built on a deepening of trust. And the depth of trust that we seek to create includes defense, it includes security, it includes cooperation between our police services, our security services, and of course our military. We talk about the Indo-Pacific and the connectedness of security challenges worldwide. Well, we live in the Indo-Pacific. For us, it's critical to see that a rules-based order based on international law, with freedom of navigation, with the capacity of all states to be able to contribute to the security of the region. We see that this is an area of importance for most of our European partners, none more so than the UK. And obviously, this is an area for us to work together. So what we're looking at really is working together on security policy, on the hard edges of security itself, which includes military-to-military relations, which includes co-innovation and co-development of military technology products, and indeed, eventually, the capacity for us to have a level of interoperability with each other's militaries. And the navies in particular...
That would be a big step forward, wouldn't it, in the
We're
relationship?
already working quite a bit in that direction.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the kind of relationship that India has with, say, Israel or Russia, to have that kind of relationship, the US, to have it with the UK as well. And then a lot of the things that a free trade agreement would permit would be business to business.
Absolutely.
But one of the things that David Lammy said I thought was quite intriguing, which is really about the approach to government, learning from the approach to government and the relationship between citizen and government that has developed in India over the last 10 years, with a digital portal that makes the ease of transfers and registration, et cetera, so much better. How do you think, is that a model that other countries have looked to learn from? Because it seems like maybe Britain might be open to doing something like that.
Look, it isn't my position to tell other people what they should do. But let me just say in a few short sentences what we've done. Essentially leveraging the digital stack that we have, which starts on the foundational platform of our unique identity project. Today in India, the kind of digital services that are built on top of that are genuinely unprecedented. Take financial services alone. Fintech payments in India, last year alone, there were 117 billion transactions. The next largest number in any other country was around 18 billion. To put that in perspective, we are doing almost as much as the second highest country in 1 month. That country does it in a year, right? It also means a range of disaggregated services can also be provided. It means financial inclusion is increased. It also means, and there's a very interesting conversation I had recently with an Indian business, which is looking at biometric-based banking. Now, let me just tell you why that would be important. In India, in a number of rural areas, it's difficult for people to go out and get money from ATMs. I mean, in other words, you'd have to put billions of ATMs everywhere, right? So how do you actually get cash to people? I believe this is a problem in the UK too, when bank branches are closing out in small towns and villages outside big cities. With the biometric-based system that we have now, people in rural areas or remote areas can actually go to the local provision shop, and the provision shop guy essentially becomes a living ATM. So he or she is able to offer cash against your bank account transfer and to receive cash in transfers too. In other words, you can bank with your local grocery guy.
Yeah.
And now imagine, this is not something that only works in India.
Of course.
It's not something that works only in developing countries. It works here too.
So we've heard about the big increase in FDI from India to the UK. Are we seeing the opposite happening? For instance, maybe UK diaspora Indians investing in India in these kind of tech options or AI, for instance?
Well, let me just say we could see a bit more. There is certainly space for much more to come in from the UK. Indian businesses, as anybody who lives in London knows, in summer, the place is awash with Indian businessmen coming to the UK because most of them do such a great job in their businesses here. And what's not to like? You actually have a few days of sunshine here. So and we have much hotter sunshine at that point of time in India. So this is a great opportunity.
This is London's heat wave.
Yeah, great. Lucky you. But as far as we're concerned, our interest is in being able to have a lot more coming across from the UK because we believe the Indian market is receptive to the UK. There is less of a learning curve and there is colossal opportunity. So we'd love to see the UK, particularly in finance, fintech, in terms of technology-based innovation. As the Shadow Foreign Secretary was mentioning, he set out a number of very useful areas that we hope to be able to cooperate with the UK in. But also in brick and mortar stuff. There is the build-out of infrastructure in India today is one of the most exciting business opportunities. Literally trillions of dollars worth of contracts available.
High Commissioner, it's been great having you with us at IGF 2024.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.